Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur or busy individual looking for self-care ideas, you're in the right place.
And we can't wait to share our experiences with you. Katherine Cairns is a comedian, writer, and actor from Prince Edward Island. She once lived in Ontario, but was forced to leave due to a lack of easy access to the North Atlantic waters. Her stand-up career began here on the island in 2019, and her quick wit, dry sense of humor, and retail employee burnout earned her the only PEI nomination for CBC's Hubcap Comedy Festival Amateur Contest the same year. Katherine performs stand-up around the Maritimes and also produces regular shows on PEI. This year, she was featured on the New Brunswick Just for Laughs showcase. Her writing can be found in Edit magazine as well. An avid Groundhog Day enthusiast, she is in the process of sourcing a woodchuck, and any and all leads would be considered. Welcome!
Thank you so much, Katherine, for being here with us today.
We are so excited to have you I was going to say in the closet. I'm so used to saying in the closet.
We're used to recording in the closet, but today we're doing it via Zoom, and that works perfectly well too.
I can get in my closet if that makes it more comfortable for you. Like it's not set up, but I could.
You look great just as you are. That's perfect. That's perfect. So thank you for saying yes to being here. I know that I met you, I think sometime last summer, at Baba's after seeing you perform, which was really exciting. And then I've been following your journey and I've seen you again since then too. And you just have such a fun personality and just way of being. And so I thought, let's get her on the podcast. Let's hear about what it's like to be a comedian as a profession, because that's really neat. Like how that impacts your life and what that looks like. And I think we're just going to cover a whole whack of things today.
Yes.
Super exciting. And thank you so much. That's really sweet of you to say. So,
yeah.
Nice to know that my social mask is working.
It really is. It really is. So tell us a little bit. I know being a comedian is a little bit new for you the last couple of years, it seems like. Tell us about the journey that brought you to PEI and brought you to the stage.
So I was living in Ontario until probably about 5 years ago. And my husband and I came here on our honeymoon and loved it. And it wasn't Ontario. So 4 months later, we moved here and I started to get more comfortable with myself and being out and around people, I guess, because everybody's a little bit more chill here than in Ontario, just like a little bit more chill. So, yeah, I saw they had an open mic and it was right out of Baba's Lounge. And I thought I could go and try this. I've always wanted to try stand-up. I was one of those people who always said that this could be fun. This is something I could do. But I never really done it. So I'd written a bunch of sets over the years and I would tell them to the dog and the cat and small children because they couldn't leave.
They're trapped.
Yeah. But I decided like a Monday night in Charlottetown, who's really going to be there? All I have to do is get one laugh, I told myself, and that will be a success and that'll be fine. And at least I can say I've done it. So I went up and I did it. Well, I sat there the entire time before I was going to do it. And went, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Like when you go up to the high diving board, which I wouldn't do because I'm not insane, but like if you went to do the high diving board and you're just standing there, like, I don't want to jump.
Yeah. And I also don't want to walk back down the ladder.
Exactly. Because I was wedged into the back of a booth next to my husband. So what am I going to do? Go, excuse me, step over people to leave.
No, this is happening.
Crawl over the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could have done that.
Next time. No.
Yeah. No, so I got up and told some jokes and everybody laughed and I was incredibly surprised and it went decently and I didn't hate it. So I kept going every Monday.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And did you find that you were like always kind of the jokester? Like you've always kind of naturally were comedic in a sense? Yeah,
well, I'm autistic. I know that'll probably come up in a bit because you're going to ask questions about it, but it's just naturally coming up here. So it's a way for me to hide in plain sight if I tell jokes. As long as people are laughing, they don't notice that you're different. So one of my super skills is coming in really quickly with a punchline. That was amazing. That is the first time I have ever made even a half snap sound in my life, and it happened here.
Magic.
That's amazing.
Maybe I can whistle soon. Sorry, just amazing.
That's cool. Like, what are these hands doing?
And it's
incredible.
Recorded. There you go.
Yeah.
This is great. Don't edit it out.
No, that's staying. That is definitely staying. That's awesome. So you say like hiding in plain sight. What, and to help us understand, because I mean, I don't have autism and I don't have anyone in my immediate life that has it either. And I know there's a whole spectrum of how it can show up for people. But for you, what makes you feel like you have to hide in plain sight, or what's that kind of behind there?
We're all monkeys at heart. And when you're in a large group of people trying to socialize, you have to look like the other monkeys, especially when you're a kid growing up in school, especially when I grew up in differences. They're probably more accepted now, but probably not at some schools with some kids. The more you fit in and the more you acted like the other monkeys or the other girls in school or the other, guys, because it was only girls until I went to high school. So that was an added layer of torture. Unless I acted like them, I got really bullied. So I started to learn how to be like them and do what they did.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it's that a bit of a response of like, okay, how do I just take that focus off of me in that way, but like make them laugh at the same time, or come in with something witty to say, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. I was able to make a few friends that way. And it was also a great way to make the adults laugh.
Yeah.
So, because they seemed to be able to, because they didn't care. They had no stake in it. So I was just a cute kid. So,
Cute kid
being
with
able to tell
punchlines.
Yeah. So they'd be like, oh, that's a super quick, super funny little kid over there. So
yeah. And that probably felt really good.
Yeah, it did. Well, any attention when you're a kid is just amazing.
Yeah. We just eat it up, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. And then you just continued to practice it on your pets and other small children as you got older, I guess.
Yeah. And it's a part of every social interaction, was always just looking for the funny thing to say at the end. So then I started coming up with material and realizing that the stories I like to tell at parties were actually bits. I was doing bits for people, and I had punchlines and I had tags and I had little add-ons. And I have a lot of the stuff that I do now, and the writing that I'm doing now, quote unquote, is stuff that I've written over the past maybe 10 years. And I'm actually just using it now. Like some punchlines I wrote 5 years ago, and I'm finding them in like my note file going, oh yeah. And it actually works. So it's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have like one of those like long notepads of running jokes and whatnot?
Yeah, I've got about 10 files open right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
In your head or in your computer?
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. I understand that feeling. That's cool. So it's almost like you've been preparing for this life that you have now for many years and just didn't realize that it was all going to come to this.
Yeah, I think I never really thought it was a career path that someone could take. I mean, I saw other people taking it. I just didn't think it was one that I could take. I mean, who knows how to get into it at all anyways. So, and here it really helps to be a big fish in a small pond. So it's not like Toronto where I would have to outdo 300, 400, 500 other people trying to do the same thing. I just have to be the best me, and I can get noticed for what I do, which is great. It means I get a lot more stage time.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
And so how often do you perform?
Now that we're not in another lockdown situation,
thank goodness.
I'm constantly surprised that I'm doing as much as I'm doing. Like, that's what I was trying to remember to say before. But it's just, if you would have told me that I would have been doing this when I started, I would have been completely surprised. I perform all the time now. Like, I was on a Just for Laughs showcase that they asked me to do. And if you would have told me 3 years ago when I started, when I didn't want to get up there and do it, that someone would be asking me to do that, I would have said you were crazy. Like, I never would have believed it. And now my calendar is constantly filling up, and it still surprises me. That's awesome. When people go, oh, what are you doing this day? And I go, that's 4 shows I'm doing in a row, like 4 days in a row. How did this happen? And I'm getting paid for them?
Yes.
How?
That's incredible. Yeah. Good for you. It's just that one first step is the scariest one often to take. But how amazing is it that you forced yourself to go to Baba's that first Monday night open mic, and 3 years later, you're just booking up like crazy.
Yeah, I got addicted.
Yeah.
And I think it's also really good for our listeners that are possibly apprehensive to take that leap into something that they really enjoy doing and kind of, going back into fear and letting fear win over them. How cool your story is that even though you didn't foresee a career in like comedy necessarily, that you are still able to grow that career without even really putting in a plan. Because that's the thing, like I think we're all so eager to put a plan into like, oh, what our business needs to be like this, we have to do this before we get our business, we have to get these courses, but you just took the leap, so that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It's weird that it's grown up around me, and I never want to do any business planning with it, because part of the reason I feel like I've been able to do what I've done is I've been able to stay modest and humble, and never thought that because I was getting things on Prince Edward Island, that meant I was like an actual big time comedian. So I've never tried to have like an inflated ego about it. So it's been really hard to adjust to trying to plan for things, because I never want to expect the next thing.
Yeah.
I never would have planned for Just for Laughs, but then it showed up and that was great. I never would have planned to be asked to do a show at the casino because 3 other comedians couldn't do it, but it was still great. So I don't know how to plan out in advance and still stay modest and humble and not pretentious to work around.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes someone like that, especially not in entertainment.
No, you don't need the talent with the big ego. You need the ones that that can stay humble and like you make fun of yourself up on the stage too, right? And you tell great jokes and they're relatable, and that's what can get people laughing too. So it's just sparking that and continuing to be yourself and find the confidence to be that is huge.
Yeah, and it's funny because like it's some different version of yourself when you're on stage. Like I have a friend and he and I looked at each other after it had been a long lockdown, like before we went up, and sorry, excuse me. He's a really professional comedian, and he and I both looked at each other and went, time to go and try and be that person.
Yeah.
Do I still remember how? And I look at videos from last summer and my stage persona was this woman who yelled really loudly so that people would pay attention to me. And it's not that so much anymore. So in one way it is your own voice, and another way it's completely not. And part of the journey of being a comedian is learning what your own voice is and being able to use it up there.
Yeah.
So that could take forever. I'm probably look at recordings that I did this year and go like, what were you doing, 2 years from now? But
yeah, I heard that's like the hardest part of comedy is finding your sweet spot of like between your voice and your mannerisms and all of that, but then still staying authentic to you and your jokes. And yeah,
because you're chasing the laughs and you're chasing the approval, but at the same time you don't want to pander and lose who you are. But then at the same time on the island, if I don't tell island specific jokes to certain audiences at certain shows where we talk about rhubarb and roundabouts and electric car chargers, it just doesn't go as well, as if I went and just talked about mundane things that go on in everybody's life across the country.
Right.
Like people here really want to hear about themselves and what's going on. So sometimes I have to change my sets around, and that makes me go like, well, where's my voice? And it gets harder to find sometimes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Do you plan to like tour off the island eventually, or just for now kind of keeping the roots here?
I'm going to start traveling and start doing some things. I'm not quite sure what's going on with it yet. I did a really smart thing, which was take someone up on their advice because they're a business coach. And they said, meet with me for a bit and we'll sort it out. And they've helped a couple of my friends. And I'm finally at that place where I'm going, okay, I can do something. I'm just going to ask somebody what they told these other people to do, and I'll go do that. Yeah. So I'm planning on traveling. I like to play shows in different parts of the country because I know how stuff plays here. I need to know how the stuff plays other places.
Yeah.
In order to know
and be
where
able
I'm
to
at.
adapt those jokes too, right? Like Roundabout and Rhubarb probably wouldn't get the same laughs in Calgary as it does here in Charlottetown. And,
Oh God, no.
just kind of like moving around. Gotta talk about cowboys out there and who knows what else.
Yeah. Like I have a friend, she tells dirty jokes on the island, and sometimes the audience it's too much for them. And she went to Halifax to go and do some sets and do some open mics. And she said, I don't know what it was. I wasn't dirty enough for them. I'm talking about these things that have happened in my personal life, and they weren't enough. They wanted more. I had to write more stuff. So you never know until you go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a very vulnerable place to put yourself, right? It's like, well, this is what I have prepared. And if they're not laughing and then the rest of my set is all in line with this same thing, like that'd be a really tough thing to be in your head at that time, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. I do my jokes like puzzle pieces. So each joke is a thing, and I know kind of where to put them with other ones if I wanted to. This one matches with these three, but it can also match with those four. So if they're not feeling it, I can move left or right. But if you have a set that's planned start to finish and it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is fine. Like there are some comedians who have played the island where they don't want to be really good on the island, because if that particular crowd laughed at everything that they said, then that's not their voice.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Hence that's the need to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that we can start doing that more and more, that's exciting too.
Yeah, it's weird to get used to people going, I went to the airport and I went here and I went there and what?
What do you mean? The airport's operational? There's just this pretty building. Yeah.
What is that metal bird?
Right. So confused. Oh, that's cool. And so before you got into comedy, what did you do? I think you mentioned in your bio that you had retail experience. Is that where you were focused mostly, or what did your professional life look like before comedy?
My professional life, because I'm for the most part, I didn't know I was autistic at the time, looked like me trying on a job and thinking I can do this for a bit, getting through training, getting through a couple weeks and going, nope, I can't do this. And then moving on to the next thing. So I did a lot of stuff. Retail, I ended up at Michael's, which was the last thing that I did before the lockdown when Justin Trudeau set me free. And
thanks so much, Trudeau.
Wonderful sir. It was so nice of him. It's great to be in that relationship with him. I'm so sorry he had to end it.
Yeah,
ask for taxes back. Like, what was that?
How rude.
I really did find that to be rude, like with no warning,
Yeah. Where's the bedside manner, right?
Like there was none, but he's still cute. So that's but yeah, so I ended up, the last job I worked was retail, which ended up being great for material because of all the Karens that come through the Michaels. Yes. As I say, they're breeding them in the yarn section.
Love it.
That's where they're coming from.
The crafty Karen.
Crafty Karen and her mother and her daughter, they're all there.
I can't get away from that.
So rather than getting mad, I would just go, oh, this is good material. It's going on the mic later.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, use it for good, right?
It was the perfect revenge.
Out of curiosity, did you choose Michael's because you have a crafty hobby?
I chose Michael's in a way. It was it's my neighbor who's my really good friend. Her sister-in-law, because this is Prince Edward Island, is the general manager at the Michael's, and they needed someone really quickly. And I had lost my job, not because I quit this last time, but because of the hurricane. A couple of years ago when it messed up North Rustico.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I was at the Blue Mussel, and then all of a sudden there's no one wanting to eat there. So yeah, so I ended up there, because I had experience, so she was able to say she knows what she's doing. But I think they would have taken a warm body who could operate the Interact machine.
Fair enough. I'm always curious because I love all my crafty hobbies, so I always like to sniff out if I can see any crafty people.
Yeah, I think you do some crafty things though, don't you, Catherine?
Yeah, my desk is covered in yarn, right? Socks and things. And that was a claw weight for the knitting machine that's in front of me. And
I love it.
That noise.
I love it. That's cool. Is that something that you do? Is that kind of like a business side? I don't like to say the word side hustle, but like, do you sell the things that you make, or is it more just for pleasure and for gift giving with friends and family?
I have another business in addition to comedy called Ocean Pearl, where I make I'm not quite sure in what direction it's heading yet. I was planning on doing a lot of sweaters like Northern Waters does and that sort of thing, but it's getting into more like smaller things to start. So I'm getting a feel for what I like to do. So that's one thing that I do. And then I got a business plan together for that and got everything ready to go. And then all of a sudden shows just started raining. So I'm not quite sure why I have two businesses right now, other than I'm insane.
I love it. I think it's great.
Two businesses over here, so she'll understand.
Yeah, so
and it all kind of happened at once too, very unplanned, but whatever.
Apparently there's no medication to fix this issue.
No, I've tried. I've been looking. I've tried a few things. There's no cure. We just accept it and embrace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were willing to do the business plan for the Ocean Pearl, is that what you said it was called?
Yeah, I know.
But not for comedy.
Yeah, isn't that strange? I started a course through Creative PEI called Pivot, for people who had side hustles that had to be more than that during the pandemic. And I started out, because there's another comedian in the group, and I was saying, well, like, he's been doing it for 10 years. He's doing a business plan for his comedy stuff. I'm doing my thing for my knitting thing, because I know I'm not there yet. That's not a thing. And as we've been doing the course, and I wrote the business plan for the one thing, the other thing has been growing so much I can't pay attention to the first thing.
Interesting.
So you're going, did you miss what was right in front of you the whole time because you didn't think there was a thing there you could do?
Right.
Yeah.
That self-doubt can get in the way, tell us that we're not able to do it, right? But
it was more just, it's such a small community here. I never want to, it's that thing where I never want to seem like I'm acting like I'm bigger than I am. But now that it's turned into a business, I have to be doing these things. So I was intentionally not wanting to make something out of it because it didn't, which sounds strange. I was keeping myself down. I was giving like myself a little ceiling.
Yeah.
Since I've taken it away, things have gotten a lot easier.
No ceiling. No ceiling anymore. Just blue skies.
Yeah.
Right.
So I know we mentioned it a couple times and we have talked about autism. When were you diagnosed with autism, and how has that kind of not affected your career, but has grown your career in a way to kind of adjust to having autism?
So let's see, I diagnosed myself when I was 34 because it's not a difficult thing to do when you read the list of traits and go, aha, there I am. Oh, someone wrote a definition of who, that's great. Thank you for doing that.
I feel seen.
Yeah. So I never, because there's no medication to take it away or to do anything about it. So it's not like I ever needed to sit in front of a professional person who would analyze the way I did things and look at me and go, oh, yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a formal diagnosis because I wanted to take a course and I needed accommodations. So that was the reason to do it. Like when you have to prove it to other people, but for a while I didn't need to prove it to myself.
Right.
And how has that impacted what I do for comedy? Let's see. It influences so much. I had to get social skill therapy, like where I went to see someone to understand what was going on, because I don't understand what's going on socially naturally. It's very, very confusing. Like I thought that whenever somebody told you something and it seemed like they were telling you the truth, they were telling you the truth. I just didn't assume that people would lie, which is extremely problematic when you're in entertainment. You have to assume many people are saying things for different reasons and sort of be aware of that. Not everyone. I mean, there's some people that don't, but so I had to do that. When I was on stage, I had to learn to look at people and engage with them. So my friend came up to start, well, I got used to it. He would call it the sprinkler, where I would go, look at you.
Yeah.
And I would remember, and then he would tell me like, okay, now when they laugh, stop and let them laugh and don't step on it. So like it was little bits of training. So and then because I'm autistic, I also mimic other people. Like we were talking really well to mask. So I started picking up on what other people do. And for the first time, it's not copying other people. It's just picking up on different traits. Hang on a second. The dog's screaming.
So that's interesting. Yeah. Like, so you self-diagnosed, you kind of like worked with others and talked about like how you can find that confidence or just understand how you can, develop in different ways to be on stage. Is there anything you wish people understood about you or about autism that would kind of make things easier or different?
For sure. Well, for me personally, like not everybody does things the same way. So like when I'm not socializing with people, it doesn't mean I don't like them. Sometimes when I'm at work, my head is like way too busy with other things to be able to take in everything. Not professionally. I wish my husband would understand that loud noises drive me absolutely insane and make me jump, but he's Portuguese and he can't stop. Um, other things I wish people knew, it's just okay for people to be different. Like I have to stop from doing things like where I would rock in order to keep myself busy so that I can pay attention to things. And I have to do things like knit or crochet to keep myself busy because it looks less weird. You know, I wish that we didn't say about kids that they have odd repetitive behaviors.
Yeah.
They just have different things than other people do, like, so that, you know, we didn't have to mask so much. I wouldn't have had to change jobs so much if people would have been more accommodating when I was at them, instead of needing people to fit into certain boxes. If they would have said, well, she is a really good employee, she does her job really well, do I need her to sit here for 8 hours a day to make me happy when she's done her job in 6?
Yeah.
You know, little things like that.
It's the understanding, especially since it is still, it's not new, but more and more people are now starting to understand it, thank goodness. But even the fact that you just said that you didn't get like diagnosed until you were 34, like so many people are out there undiagnosed thinking that like you kept saying weird or like different, and it's like, no, you're not. It's just you have a different way of moving through life, and it's the understanding that you have to kind of be okay with, you know.
Yeah, it's difficult to be different like that and to try and, I know that people are figuring out more about it, but it did take a long time. It's also because I'm a woman, so people expect it more in a man. They go, oh, he looks like Sheldon Cooper and he's into trains and he has all like these, you know, tropes of autism. Okay, I see it. But with a woman or a girl, like I was really into horses and I could name every breed of horse. It's not unusual for a girl. You know, so people don't notice as much, and we learn to mimic and we learn to fit in because girls can be nasty. I don't know if you know from going to school. Yes, you're nodding like, yes, sometimes.
Oh yes, most of the time.
I was gonna say I hid in the art room all the time, so I'm yeah,
it's tough. It's not easy being a kid regardless. And then when you add that on top of it, and there's no definition or words to put behind it, right? Like you just know there's something different about me. And instead of figuring out what that is, I'm just going to put all my energy into the mimicking or the fitting in or whatever. Right. So, you had sent me, when we were chatting before having you as our guest tonight too, you had sent me that really beautiful article that you wrote about autism being a gift. And I thought that was just so lovely how you've been able to accept it, and not just accept it, but embrace it. And now, like you said in the article, like I was reading the end of it to Stephanie tonight too, of the, you know, tackling life as a hummingbird now, and just like kind of fleeting through life and drinking your sugary drinks and, you know, having your one-liners and being quick. But I think what it really comes down to is that self-love and self-acceptance.
It's a lot easier now that I've accepted myself, and I expect other people to do it too. And if they don't, that's fine, but I don't have time for it. You know, I mean, there's always been that one person that can, not one person, more than one person who can almost smell it on you, you know, and they're like, oh, I don't want to be around that. And they just treat you differently and stuff like that. But now I have to pause because I forgot the question.
It's okay. Just about the self-acceptance.
Oh, yeah. Self-acceptance. We can leave this in or something, because now I'm self-accepting. It was fine. I forgot the question.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, it's been a big deal for me because I am a different version of myself on stage, but the closer I can be to the actual version of me, the easier it is. It was a big deal for myself last summer when I told my first joke on stage about being autistic. Like I went 2 years without ever telling anyone on stage. The other comedians knew because I didn't hide it, because I didn't want them to treat me differently,
right?
Without at least having a reason to pause and go like, well, maybe it's because of this, not just, you know, because she's rude or she doesn't like me or, you know, she didn't think to do the social niceties. So that was fine. But it was a big deal when I told that joke. I was so nervous to out myself in front of people because I'm going, well, will they laugh at the rest of the set? Is it just kitty laughs they're giving me?
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It was a really, really good joke. So
yeah, I like it. What was it?
Oh, let's see. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It was something about like, oh, I'm not like the really like cool kind of autistic person where you could drop a thing of toothpicks on the ground and I could go, there's 64.
Love it.
Yeah, that was it.
That's good. I like it. Yeah, that must have been really scary, right? Like, would you put that on par with the first night of getting up on open mic and then outing
Yeah.
yourself as autistic?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, that's a good question. And yeah, probably also because it was a night where there were some pros there. There was a pro there that I didn't know was going to be there who'd just come to watch. And the last time that I had done anything with him, I had bombed terribly. And when you see a comedian bomb, you don't think they can ever do a good job at anything, ever. You know, when you see a comedian do well, like you think like Robin Williams, you'd be like, well, how could he ever bomb? He did sometimes, probably.
Yeah.
So
I think
it was
you have
terrible.
to
And I
get
was,
better.
oh, sure. But this was just particularly nasty when I walked out on stage and I wasn't expecting a spotlight, which meant that I couldn't see anyone. And I'm used to talking to people and doing that sprinkler thing. And so it threw everything off. And then that guy was there the night that I did the joke about being autistic for the first time. And I went, oh, this had better work. But then I heard after, like you said, you were so funny and it was great. And he liked me ever since he saw me that night, you know. But he was in the bathroom when I told that joke. So I still don't know, but
maybe he'll listen to this episode.
Right? Yeah.
Send
this to him later. It's fine. Oh, goodness. Do you think being an entrepreneur now versus being an employee is easier for you then, because you don't have to ask for the accommodations, you get to simply create them for yourself?
oh yeah, I was just going to say, because like I know exactly what I need at what point in the day and I will do it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I want to work from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. Sometimes I want to work from 2 p.m. until midnight. I can do that now.
Yeah.
Well, not with stage time. Like if they book me from like, you know, for 8 o'clock, I can't just decide 7 a.m. would be a brilliant time. But
yeah.
like
Yeah.
But
aside from when you're booked in,
yeah,
the rest of your life can flow as you need to.
Yeah, which is really helpful because I also have ADHD because, you know, I have the neurodiversity that keeps on giving. So that means that I have to function in a different way during the day than other people. Otherwise, I literally can feel like I'm dying of boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
I'm sure it's possible. They have tried to do it to me before in offices. I have not let them, but I am pretty sure it's a thing that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. You ran away before it got that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much every time.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
So you mentioned writing. What kind of writing do you do?
Writing for jokes and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So you don't like freelance write or anything like that, or like more articles?
Yeah, I had that one article that my friend asked me to write for his magazine. So I did that, and I will probably write some more in the future. But right now I've just been focused on too many things like a knitting business and then trying to have all these shows to deal with. And so, yeah, it's joke writing a lot of the time.
Yeah. A compilation of some of your jokes or something perhaps, but that article that you wrote really was beautiful and well written too. So I think you have a knack for storytelling, whether you want to tell it on stage or tell it in written language, right? You can kind of decide what works for you.
Well, thanks. Maybe I should learn how to better manage my time and I could attempt to do that.
Well, you know, 2 businesses is a lot, Catherine. You don't need to have 3.
It is.
If the opportunity
but I think I can do it.
Yeah, you probably could. You probably
probably shouldn't.
Just because we can doesn't mean we must.
There we go.
Let's remember that.
That's true. I've reached that point in my life where like I think of all the things that, because you're 41, you're like all these things I wanted to learn how to do, like play the piano or learn Chinese. And now I look and I'm like, I only have so many years left, and that takes a lot of hours to put in. Am I really going to do that? No. Crossing things off the list. No, that's someone else is going to learn Mandarin. Someone else is going to travel to every country in the world.
Right.
Unless you can do it and get on stages.
That's true. I think that there are some countries though where my humor just would not.
Yeah. It might not be well received everywhere. That's fair. Oh goodness, that's too funny. What advice would you give another person who maybe is, you know, living life with autism or ADHD or maybe both as well, who is feeling like they can't, like because of that, they can't put their dream out to the world of, you know, whatever, it's a business they want to create or a certain, you know, professional goal they're reaching for? What would you tell them?
get some help from that sounds mean, get help, but no, like get some help. Like so many people wait for the diagnosis, which can take years, especially on the island or in Atlantic Canada to get. If you know that that's who you are, like I did from reading that list of things, even if you're wrong, you still have a pretty good indication of the things that you need to work on in order to help yourself get through daily life better. So if you're able to look up someone who treats people with that, that fits into your benefit plan, if you hopefully have one, if you're that lucky, and if not, that you can afford to see a couple times, interview a few people, pick one that you like. They have them all over the country, so you don't have to be stuck with someone here who might not, know what they're doing or be too busy to see you.
Yeah.
So I saw a specialist in Toronto, and that made all the difference because she started to piece out what I didn't. It's always the things that you don't know that you didn't know.
Yeah.
That stop you up in life. So when someone's able to go, there's a blind spot,
yeah,
then you can make sense of more things. I can hear my husband coming in. I heard the garage, which means they're all going to kick off in about 4 or 5 minutes.
It's going to happen.
2 3 minutes.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Like asking, like, I guess the big message too is that you don't have to do it alone. So if you think that you might have autism or ADHD, or maybe you have been diagnosed already, but like, don't feel like this is a solo journey that you have to go on.
No, and it can feel so isolating to have it because you felt isolated your whole life. Like you can't fit in. Well, at least I did. I felt like I couldn't fit in with anyone. I felt totally isolated. So I didn't even think to ask for specialized help until it was comedy and I really wanted to do it. And I was having a lot of trouble fitting in, and everybody else was getting shows and I wasn't. And I couldn't figure out why for the life of me. There we go. Hang on a second.
He wants to be on the podcast.
Yeah. He's like, just let me in. That's cute. So what are some of the things that, like, you were saying you have to learn the things that you need to be able to get through life, and also like being shown what your blind spots are. What are some of the things that you've now adapted or changed so that you can more easily get the things done that you want to?
So the one thing I talked about was that I learned that, people may not be telling the truth when they talk to you. So to be very careful what you say to people. I learned that just because somebody's talking to you doesn't mean that they're your friend, which I know it's very embarrassing, but if you don't know, they're like, well, they're being nice. So you take it at face value if you don't know that that's a thing that people might do.
Yeah, for sure.
So definitely had to adjust like where I would place people. Like we made like levels. So like husband number 1, other people down here, and you can move them up and down based on what they do.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like I had to socialize with everyone at the same level.
Right.
I learned that it's okay to be quiet and by myself, because when I'm not on stage and I'm not turned on to perform, a lot of times I'm just quiet. I don't like to talk to anybody all day long. So I've accepted that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And that might be exactly what you need in order to get on stage.
Yeah, it is. Otherwise I'm spread too thin. So yeah, I actually just gave up the local open mic. I was running it every week. And then I started to get so busy that I had to make that business decision where you go like, well, I'm spending so much time on this and I'm not getting anything out of it. The last time I made 35 cents. And I went and like looked in the box of money and went, okay, no, something has to give.
Can't keep doing
like I'm spending all week long organizing all these amateurs, which is like they need their mic space and that's fine. But so I had to get rid of that, which was a benefit because I was spending too much time talking to people.
That's
that too. Yeah.
And sometimes that's the hardest part of business, is that you kind of have to make those executive decisions to be like, where is my time and my emotional time more valuably spent, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
And I was working on the business more than I was working in the business.
Yeah. And I don't think you always need to get paid with money, but you got to get paid in some way, right? So if that was filling your cup and getting you excited and doing all these things that benefited you, even if it was 35 cents in a box at the end of the night, it might still feel good. But the fact that it was also draining you, like that's like kudos to you to recognize that and to say, I need this off my plate. I just can't keep doing this anymore.
Yeah, if like Tom Green or like Dave Foley were gonna like just show up out of the blue on like even a monthly basis, then I'd be like, well, it's great for connections, but you know,
Not
he was the
happening.
guy who's had a bunch of beers who wants to talk through my sets. So I just need to be there to work out jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great.
So what goals do you have for your comedy career now?
Well, the goal right now is to start to realize that I can have goals. So to make sense of what they are. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have to treat it like I'm an amateur anymore who's, just doing it as a hobby, because I'm not. People are seeking me out to do shows, and I've got to get used to that instead of constantly going, who? Are you sure you meant me? And like I've gotten emails with, like, I got one, the girl says, we have to have you. And I went, surely she got the email wrong. So I've got to get over that and know that people are asking me, because what I'm doing is working. So the more I work on it, the better I will get at it, and the more I'll get booked. And if I keep up this weird modesty act, it's only going to be stranger for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is that weird, like you said at the beginning of our conversation, you didn't want to come across as that person with the big ego. But
because I'm not.
You might soon need one of those PEI famous shirts, because you're getting your face out there everywhere.
Yeah, I've been recognized a couple of times, but it's because I had the pink hair, and now it's brown again. So I feel like, while I look like a kind of generic white woman, we'll see if people still recognize, because I don't think we could trust it before.
Yeah, the pink hair is a dead giveaway. I'm learning that
exactly.
now.
Yeah. Do they really know me?
I can't go anywhere without people finding me now. Like, oh, right. Why did I do this?
Yeah, you have to be polite when you go to the grocery store.
I know.
Because if you lose it, then they'll be like, oh, there's that girl with the pink hair who lost it.
Right? Don't trust her. She's the worst.
Yeah. There's that stand-up comedian who's rude to everyone in public. Yeah. Gave this guy the finger on the Kingston Road. I know
it's
her.
Just part of my bit. It's fine.
I was testing out material.
Yeah.
Here's tailgating.
It's part of the process. Come on. Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah, now that you're starting to really accept that, yes, you are a professional comedian. There's no more amateur life for you. Maybe that business plan will come in the future, or some semblance of a business plan, so that you can have some goals to work towards.
Got to at least do a lean canvas.
Right? I think you can.
Yeah. Work out the basic points of it, even if I don't write out the old fashioned thing.
Yeah. Just something, right?
Yeah.
Get it out there. That's awesome. Should we head into our final big question of the night?
Yes. I think it's time, Julianne.
Do you want to ask it?
Should I be worried?
No. I already sent it to you in advance.
So. Okay. So I know it.
It's nice like that.
So, what does self-care mean to you? And how do you practice self-care? We should always ask that. I don't know why we always.
Lately, it's been learning that I don't have to be so tough. So I don't have to pretend that things aren't bothering me if they're bothering me, just so that I look cool to everybody else and I don't look like the strange autistic person, because it's not strange. So yeah, I've learned speaking up for myself has been a big deal, like saying I don't want to do the mic. And yes, I've handed it off to people that some people might think that's an unpopular decision. Kind of okay with it. Because I have to be, I have to be okay with some people not being okay with things.
Absolutely.
I'm okay with saying I've had a bad day, so I'm hopping in the bathtub at 2 p.m. when nobody's home and it's quiet, and I'm not going to feel bad about it because I worked all morning and I'm going to work until 9 o'clock tonight. This is my lunch break. If this is how I want to take it, that's what I'll do.
You get the right. Yeah.
Yeah. So since I've been doing that, I've been getting better on stage too, because I'm more relaxed, because I've been looking after myself more. I'm not showing up trying to, hold in that I might not like that, something happened to me in the community. I wouldn't have told people before, and I would have walked around on eggshells. But now I kind of go, this thing's going on. I don't love it. Now everybody knows, so I can deal with it more. It was causing me, it's funny how much stress it causes you to not say, I hate the buzz lingo, but like to not speak your truth. It reminds me of The Office with Pam and Jim.
Yeah.
We have to speak our truth to each other, the therapist said. So
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. That is a big energy drain when we're just concealing or withholding things, right? Like it wears on us way more than we could ever expect.
Yeah. Yeah. And as long as you're clear with people that you're not needing them to fix anything and you're not venting at them ad nauseum, like as long as you respect that other people have boundaries where you're not dumping info on them, and you just go, well, it's this, this, and this, and that is what it is.
Yeah.
It's enough just to say what's going on. You don't have to tell everybody, but
no, because we've learned that we can't trust everybody.
I'm still working on it. I still get tripped up.
Well, it sucks. Like we do get burned, right?
Yeah.
We want to trust people. I think that's an inherent just part of who many of us are. Sadly, it takes getting burned many, many times sometimes to realize that it's not possible, but yeah. And so, like taking care of yourself, like self-care is one of our favorite things to talk about here too, is because if we aren't, then we don't get to show up as our best selves whenever we're doing our shows or designing things, like graphic designer over there, or for me when I'm coaching or, greeting my customers at Joey's Deep Sea Fishing. It's, we need that downtime. We need to recognize like, I'm before we even get to the wall that we're going to hit, we need to like see it on the horizon and stop then.
That's exactly
because I think when we get too close, then we're already done for. Right. So that self-awareness and self-acceptance that we talked about earlier too, of, I do need this bath right now, or I need to go take a nap. And I don't need to apologize for that. Oh, I nap all the time. It's the best.
Yeah, it's a great reset button. I used to feel like I had to apologize for that all the time. And now I'm just like, nope, brain died.
Yep.
I had to reset it. It's not happy.
Yeah.
So it needs to be socially accepted everywhere that napping is a good thing.
Not just for toddlers.
Not just for toddlers.
They're the ones
we
who
should have our
fight
masks
it.
and napping mats.
Yes, right. I like that idea.
Right? Yeah. If you get too tired, you can just go down like a sim anywhere.
Yeah. Done. I'm in.
I love this idea. We should create things together more often.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. This will be your
first
third
step,
business.
public nap time.
Public nap time. I like it. You'll just find us at Victoria Park this summer. We'll just be sleeping somewhere randomly.
I'm sure we can get Dennis King to approve it.
Done.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Shout
He'll
out
listen to
Denny.
this.
Yeah, hook us up. Hook us up. We need public nap time all across the island.
Definitely.
Love it.
Except that'll attract more people to move onto the island.
Oh shoot! No public nap time.
For anyone who lives on the island as of now.
Yeah.
Right. There are no jobs. It snows all the time.
Yeah.
None. Not a single
Hurricanes come and they ruin things, and
it's terrible. There's red dirt. What's that?
Red dirt. So weird.
We just call it dirt.
Yeah, we just call it regular dirt. I don't even notice the red tinge
You
anymore.
guys have got red dirt roads. It's a road.
It's just a road. What are you talking about? It's nothing special. Come and visit us, though. Come be a tourist.
Well, I didn't miss them so much, except they go to your fishing business, so I guess we like them.
Yeah.
It's just they drive so slowly on the road.
I mean, Islanders
you
can
felt my
also
pain
be
a bit
very
there.
guilty for that.
I'm from Edmonton, so I'm from a bigger city. So when I moved here, it was a adjustment, and no one knows how to do circles here. So that's my thing.
Yeah, the roundabouts are special. We have a few of
I
those.
say do you even roundabout? Well, you don't.
Roundabout. It's like what I saw a meme the other day that was like, how much do I trust people? I look both ways at a roundabout.
Of course you do. I've seen people try and go the other way.
I have seen it. It's terrible.
Oh, gosh.
Like, what are you doing?
Everybody stops, rolls down their window, and screams.
It's wonderful. Yay, PEI. Well, we're glad that you found your way here.
Yes.
Because we're definitely need laughs from you, and we need people like you in our community too. So thank you for being here. And thank you for saying yes to being our guest as well. It's been really fun.
Well, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I had a really good chat.
Yeah, good. And so for listeners who maybe are just getting introduced to you for the first time, how could they find you online or get to know where your shows are so they can go check you out?
Sure. I am. You can find me on Facebook like you can everyone on the island under Katherine Cairns. I'll probably be the one that shows up as I'm linked to 2 or 3 of your friends, because that's how things work here. I should use my business page more, but I don't. But if you were to follow me there or friend me, then you can see what shows are going on. If you were to follow my Facebook page, then you can see what's going on there when I remember to post it out, which I will do more in the future.
Love it. That's awesome. Very cool. Well, hopefully we'll get to one of your shows again soon too. It's been a couple of months now, I guess, since I saw you at Bits and Bites. You were at that one.
That's a month ago.
Yeah. But yeah, it's always fun.
There's a show at the Trailside on June 27th with Brian Doucette that is going to be amazing. He's so funny.
We saw him at the last Bits and Bites. Bits and Bites? Yeah, that's what it's called. It's like a tongue twister, but not really. He was wonderful too. That was the first time I had seen him in person. So that was really cool. So I'm sure we'll see you around the big city of Charlottetown. And we're really grateful to have you here today and to get to know you a little bit better. And I guess that's it. That's all we got.
Well, thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah. Yay. Awesome. Well, take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us, Thriving Tides, on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.